Hi, this is Ted Rogers on History by the Plate. I think if you guys have been watching this very often, you know that I really hate to waste food, and this past week I made a big mistake at the grocery store and bought way too many mushrooms. I was making mushrooms for a holiday, or stuffed mushroom pastries for a holiday party, and way overestimated. So I ended up with a pound of mushrooms left over. Well, what do you do with a pound of mushrooms? Well, I thought to myself I could fry them. That would be, super tasty, but that's not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world. So instead I thought, how about this? How about if I marinate them, and that way it preserves them longer in the refrigerator? And there's an easy way to do that. So what I did was I cleaned and stemmed the mushrooms under cold running water. Then I looked at the smallest of the mushrooms and said, okay, for the biggest of the mushrooms to match that size, I'll quarter those. And for the medium mushrooms, I'll cut them in half. So pretty much the mushrooms are in uniform size, because that way they'll absorb the marinade in a uniform basis. So what we have then is a very simple process to get going. I boiled the mushrooms for 3 to 4 minutes, mainly as a sanitizing arrangement, to make sure that any bacteria, anything was killed off, and it can then keep in the fridge. Then I took a 1/4 cup of olive oil, which we're going to add here. Adding that to the bowl, the big bowl. And here I have 2 cloves of garlic that I've chopped, and a 1/4 cup of red onion, also chopped. I'm going to add that. Let me get all that out there. Don't want to waste anything there either. There we go. Put that aside. And then the dry ingredients. I have here 2 teaspoons packed of dark brown sugar. Then I have a 1/2 teaspoon of dried Mexican oregano, about a 1/2 teaspoon, maybe more, I kind of like a little bit more pepper, of whole black peppercorns, about 1/3 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1 bay leaf, and about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to throw that on in there as well. So, got that. And now we need 1/2 cup of white wine vinegar. Very nice. I'll put this back over here. And so all we're going to do now is take those mushrooms that I've boiled and then drained, empty them into the marinade like that. Oop, let's get all of them. Don't want to miss anybody there. This is one of those dishes that you can make when you're just trying to prove to everybody that you're a fun guy. I'm sorry, I had to do that. That's kind of the way my humor rolls. Stir that up to incorporate all of the ingredients, and stir for a while, because you want, remember there are things in here that have to melt. You have to melt the brown sugar. You have to melt the salt. So you want that to, and you can hear that. It's not quite okay now. Do you hear that now? It's starting to sound smooth, so it lets you know that the solid ingredients, the sugars and the salts, have started to incorporate into the mixture. It's starting to smell really good too. That's the problem with film, is it can't transmit the wonderful aromas in a kitchen, which is probably a good thing, because I think that any of us who watch kitchen shows would probably weigh a lot more if it did. Now I'm going to take a bowl that I have an airtight lid for. Just going to empty all of this into that bowl. Let's get all the onion and the garlic here because that adds so much flavor to the marinade. There we go. And voila! We'll refrigerate this now for at least 5 hours before we even, try to eat it, just so that everything can incorporate in the marinade. But again, you can keep this in the fridge for up to 5 days easily, and that's just a nice way that if you were an adult like I was and bought too many mushrooms and want to be able to preserve them to use for a few meals, this is a great way to do it. This can be a nice standalone mushroom salad as a side dish, or you can add the marinated mushrooms to a salad as well. So, I hope this has been helpful. This is Ted Rogers on History by the Plate.